In the aftermath of Brexit and the general election in the UK, this is the sort of thing you'll regularly see from what I like to call the loser club. Not that I am a staunch Brexiteer or anything like that. I just like people power. I just think it's cool, man. But the fear machine rolls on. The threat of the far right continues. In spite of the fact, which is embarrassing for people like this, well, it should be embarrassing for them, that we are facing a global biological crisis. Now, you may say, oh, well, if you're familiar with my content, I always talk about the fear machine and how, a lot of these diseases that go around are there to perpetuate fear into us. But Corona's a little bit different. Maybe it's a tool of population control. Ooh, let's deep dive into that mystery. I mean, what I'm saying is that you shouldn't be scared of it. You should just be aware of it and be sensible. That's what it's doing. And I think in the long run, it's going to do us some good because people won't be glued to their phones no more. That's me being glued to a phone, because they're going to have to be aware of people in their surroundings. Okay, you're going to have to be, and plus people are going to wash their hands more, which is beneficial for mankind. But no, in the midst of a biological ticking time bomb, we should be scared of the far right, which is just ludicrous. Like, this is ludicrous that they keep perpetuating this idea, and mainly because of certain groups whose sole existence relies on the far right bogeyman being in existence, such as Hope Not Hate, that featured in this article. Now, whilst I'm about to do some demonstrations here, whilst far right extremism is on a rise, it's on a curve like this. It's kind of like that. Not like other extremism post 9/11 and 7/7 so forth, which was like that. So, it's not that, is it? Because you know why? A lot of people in the Western world have got it all right, so we haven't got too much to be that pissed off about. Anyway, Brexit making far-right ideas mainstream. Major report finds. Major report. Well, who released this report? Was it the Home Office? Was it the Metropolitan Police? Ugh. No. Brexit is causing far-right views on immigration and identity to be drawn into the mainstream. A report has warned. Research by Hope Not Hate. Now we have the problem. Now we don't even need to read the rest of this article, to be honest with you. I discovered Hope Not Hate when I was researching my far-right Bogeyman podcast that I did, and the follow-up mini-documentary I did. I like to call them mini-docs, alright? They're not YouTube videos. I'm fucking classy. And looking at just the information presented by Hope Not Hate on National Action, who they seem to be really worried about, who are a group you don't know that you really shouldn't worry about, because there's 100 members nationwide. Not in, if there was 100 members like in one town and they all met up, people are like, all right, that's a strong collective, it's nationwide, and this is supposed to be a nationwide problem. And the grammar used on that website and how they present information is just poor quality. And then the more I've heard about them, they are just basically a far left organization headed up by a bona fide communist. And some of the people that they want us, attack is obviously Tommy Robinson. Who else? Also people like Sargon and Milo, and it's like, all right, mate, okay. Hope Not Hate. Shut up. But these organisations always have these nice fluffy names. Well, it's not a fluffy name, but it's so inspirational. It's like Hope Not Hate, and you sort of think, oh, they must be a really lovely bunch of people doing something for the good of humanity. They're not. They're perpetuating a fear machine, because without their fear machine, they have no relevancy. No one's going to fund them. No one's going to take them seriously. They need the far right bogeyman to exist. They need it to exist. They're like Bob Geldof, If Bob Geldof actually wanted to end hunger in Africa, that would have been a stupid idea, because he would no longer be relevant, and thus Poverty and hunger hasn't been ended in Africa since 1984. So, so Bob Geldof managed to stay relevant. Although he kind of fallen off his relevancy. I mean, what's he done lately apart from chase Nigel Farage around on a boat? That's the last thing you did, Bob. Keep up the good work. Anyway, I've found that Britain's departure from the EU has fueled discussions of loyalty, elitism and patriotism, drawing people who might have otherwise have been attracted to the far right back into the mainstream right. Okay, well, I could debunk that because there are no far right political groups anymore. They're gone. The BNP's gone. So who are all the BNP? I mean, the BNP had supporters. They had enough clout to have electoral, promotion campaigns on television and shit. Right? They had representatives. They had a logo. I mean, with the BNP gone, Britain First are pretty much, they had political aspirations, but nothing came of it. And UKIP aren't really far right anyway. That's just a Middle England. I've always thought like UKIP's just a Middle England organisation, for old people. So they haven't got. There is no party that there's no party for the far right. The far right, the BNP are defunct because as soon as Nick Griffin opened his mouth on Question Time, everyone's like, "Oh, yeah, I'm not sure about this nutter." Do you know what I mean? So where else? What you expect far right people to just suddenly go, "Oh, I'm not far right anymore. I have no representation." It's like, well, they would in general, go to the centre, go for a centre-right party. Or they go to Labour because of the anti-Semitism. Whatever draws them in. The blurring of these boundaries has seen mainstream politicians and commentators using language and rhetoric that was previously found only on the far right, and seen anti-Muslim prejudice, demeaning rhetoric on migrants and refugees, and notions of a cultural war against social liberalism increasingly being adopted, the group's annual report said. Now the culture, right? So if you talk about the cultural war, that means that's a far-right ideology. I see. The culture war is a far-right ideology. Now, I think the culture war is just a war of nonsense versus non-nonsense. And it's not, the culture war isn't exclusively to do with immigration and Islam, okay? It's a culture war of ideas. So, do you know what I mean? This is just like, oh, God, shut up. This is partly as a consequence of politicians co-opting far-right engaging in why, partly because of the new... Oh, I missed a bit. Have I missed a bit? This is professional. Sorry, dudes. This is... I'm so pro. This is partly as a consequence of politicians co-opting far-right narratives to gain support, and partly because of the newer far-right engaging in wider issues. Hope Not Hate said the change was responsible for weakening traditional far-right street movements in Britain, seeing a decline in membership and events. Oh, that's it, right, because the mainstream politicians brought them in. Right, okay. Let's say this is all completely, this is the cause and effect. This is exactly what's going on. The fact is that mainstream politicians a few years ago, before this new law, we had David Cameron and what was his name? What was the boggly-eyed man's name? The one before Corbyn. Who was Mr. Boggle Eyes? God, why can't I remember his name? Yeah, he had a brother as well who he fucked over. What was his name? It's completely lost me. The former leader of the Labour Party, Mr. Boggle Eyes, the man who wore Wellington boots and couldn't eat a sandwich properly. They were all acknowledging that people had been ignored about their concerns over immigration, mass immigration, not immigration, mass immigration. There's a difference. Right? Immigration's been in this country for fucking centuries, mass immigration on the level under New Labour was rampant. So, and they admitted that they'd been wrong in labelling people, badly. And I've always said that you can't keep calling people xenophobes and racist because they have concerns about mass immigration and the cultural shifts in major cities and so forth, and towns and whatever, because you will push them over to the far right. Now, the fact that they've left the far right, which is exactly what we fucking want, exactly what I wanted, is what everyone wanted, is a good thing. That memberships. Do you know what I mean? These people can never be happy because they have to sell this narrative. This is the only way they're going to stay relevant. This is what, when I first came across Britain First, when I made my Britain First parody video, when I got interviewed by a guy who worked, I got spoken to by a person who worked campaigning against the far right, looking at alternative messengers. Me. All right. And this is what I said. I said we need to stop pushing people over there and bring them back over here. Well, they're coming back. Welcome home. You're not in Nutterville anymore. Congratulations. This is a good thing. Do you know? Traditional far-right street movers in Britain seeing a decline in membership and events. And this is a negative for you. It's astonishing. Its report noted that several extremist figures and groups, including Tommy Robinson and Britain First, had called for their supporters to support Boris Johnson and the Conservative Party since he became leader. Well, because that's up to them, isn't it? They can't run. Tommy Robinson tried. Disaster. Britain First tried to run. Disaster. Who are they going to go for? Are they going to say to their supporters, go support the all-welcoming open arms approach of the Labour Party and neoliberalism, or is it go with the Conservatives who are going to clamp down on immigration? Nick Griffin has shown support towards Jeremy Corbyn. Does that mean I think Jeremy Corbyn is a fucking secret BNP member? No. Ridiculous. Past and present far-right leaders even attended Brexit Day celebrations in Parliament Square, it added. Well, because they would be pro-Brexit, wouldn't they? Not everyone that's pro-Brexit is one of them, but out of, leave, remain or leave, right, far-right leaders would be the ones that want to leave for specific reasons, unlike the majority of people who want to leave because the EU is this just tyrannical corporate shit show. The cordon sanitaire, which once kept far-right groups and fought out of mainstream discourse, has collapsed both here and on the continent. Oh, I don't know what that is. Hope not. I don't know what that is. So stop talking nonsense. Hope Not Hate warned that although the public debate around Brexit had made the traditional far right irrelevant, disillusionment with Mr. Johnson or the way the UK leaves the EU could spark a future resurgence. The report came amid continued increases in hate crimes across Britain and warnings over rising Islamophobia and anti-Semitism. Well, anti-Semitism isn't exclusively a far-right thing, unfortunately. Neither is Islamophobia. You can be very far left-leaning. You can be very left-wing and be Islamophobic. Do you realise that? This is the weird thing. It's like, oh, it's a far-right thing. It's like, no. Go talk to people. See what they got to say. You might come up with a very different view of the world. Well, I'll tell you what. If that is the case, and if Boris Johnson fucks up, and fucks up leaving the EU and doesn't keep to his promises, then that means the Labour Party need to step their fucking game up and become relevant again and get rid of all their silliness and go, alright, do it for the fucking people, okay? Be the opposition party that we want you to be, because we need a strong opposition party. Okay, now and never, if you really care, then you'll do what's right. So there's the answer to that one. Nick Lowell's, Hope Not Hate's chief executive, said that despite the decline of organised groups, hate had become more widespread through a peer-driven online culture and the mainstreaming of far-right narratives. A peer-driven online culture. Citizens, institutions and state agencies need to understand the scale of the problem and start pushing back against ideologies of division and hate. Yeah, but your ideologies are of division. What you push is division. Just don't listen to them, don't listen to them. They're racist, they're scumbags. That's all you lot push anyway. So, like, this is divisiveness as it is. My God. You can't expect a whole generation of people who have all they've known is the evils that are committed by Islam, perpetuated by the media, to suddenly go, oh, I have no concerns over Islam. That's not how it works. You can't expect that from them. So what you got to do? You got to bring people together, mate. But you lot don't bring people together. You know what I'm saying? You don't bring people together. You just push people away. Citizens, institutions and state agencies need to understand the scale of the problem and start pushing back against... Oh, I already read that, sorry. I was so bored with it. Outside the UK, the report said that the international far-right terror threat had hit unprecedented levels following the attacks in Christchurch, El Paso, Halle and Hanau. He found that the threat was involving younger and more violent individuals, and that the ideological paths into extremism had become more diverse because of the rise of conspiracy theories, incels, and the manosphere. Shut the fuck up. Conspiracy theories don't talk about conspiracy theories being a far-right thing. I mean, that is just absolutely ludicrous. Alright, conspiracy theories are across the board these days. Everyone believes in them, because some of them are fucking true. Look at Pizzagate and Epstein. I mean, fucking they all poo-pooed that shit. Oh, look what happened. Oh, there was a rape island for billionaires. Right? I mean, that. Huh? Do you know what I mean? Out of conspiracy theories that are out there, that's a wild one. That's stuff, you know. That's something out of a bad damn brown book. Well, not that there's any good ones, but you know, like, come on, don't be ridiculous. Especially when you've got people like George Monbiot and people on the far left who are talking about the oligarchs. Can't name a single one of them. The oligarchs that fund Western governments, that helped Boris Johnson and Donald Trump get into power. These oligarchs. And Russia, the new pantomime villain of the fucking world. Putin replaced Gaddafi as the world's pantomime villain, and he is having the time of his life. When we know where the real threats are coming from, incels, which is just a buzzword, and the manosphere. Shut the fuck up. Hope Not Hate called the for action against extremist online networks, including the far right's adoption of the encrypted messaging app Telegram. You see what I'm saying? Every time people try to move away from something mainstream and create something new that's like involves different technology that they cannot, technology that they don't have control over, they just try and dismiss it as being a far right thing. Look how they shit all over BitChute, they'll shit all over Telegram, Gab. I've been on Gab. I mean, it is what it is, but do you know what I mean? The existence of Telegram is a good thing in the long run. Do you know what I mean? This is what they do every time. They go, no, you've got to get rid of this. Get rid of the dark web because there's bombs and paedophiles on there. It's like, there's bombs and paedophiles everywhere. It also called on the government to ban a Satanist neo-Nazi organisation called the Order of Nine Angles, which advocates murder and sexual violence. What, a Satanist neo-Nazi organisation that advocates murder and sexual violence? Well, I say out of any organisation that you wouldn't be too concerned with banning would be them, but... How many members do you think they got? I won't even bother looking up. I already know how many members National Action have, who are the ones they're really concerned about. National Action, be terrified of National Action. There's probably four weirdos. There's just four weirdos. Or it's probably a 4chan hoax. Just think about it. Half of the spread of far-right rhetoric that they think's going on is literal 12-year-olds on 4chan just being naughty little bastards. Literally. It is. But they don't care. Like this. Do you know what I mean? Here we go. I'm a member. Bye. Mr. Lau said that the current strategy was wholly inadequate for dealing with this rapidly changing danger, adding in 2020, far-right terror operates through a virtually leaderless online global community waging its battles internationally from Christchurch, New Zealand to Halle in Germany, through a new generation of increasingly young and more extreme terrorists, but the authorities have been slow to make connections between offline hate crimes and the ideological ecosystem behind them. Again, it's an attack on the internet, an attack on internet communities, the spreading of better information. It's always the same. Hope Not Hate are just doing the bidding of their corporate slaves, sex slaves, like the rest of them. That's what they're called now. They're not SJWs, they're not the woke, they're corporate sex slaves. Okay, they don't even get anything out of it, except going, oh, look at me! Like, they're just idiots. A Home Office spokesperson said the government is taking action to root out and dismantle the groups that promote extreme right-wing views, and we are giving the police tools and resources they need to tackle this threat. Yes, and they have. Even when you got leaders of the intelligence service saying, oh no, it's because, when 2018 suddenly became a year that Islamic terrorism suddenly died down without any real reason, just, well, maybe the fault of ISIS, but maybe that is the reason. When we had a rampant 3-year period of just absolute fucking mayhem, and then suddenly it's like, well, that's all dealt with. It's the far right we should worry about. And you're saying that they're not tackling the problem. They focused all their resources on this fucking apparent threat. And they're introducing more laws to take away our liberties again. Again. This is why conspiracy theories run rampant. Because of what happened after 9/11. You complete imbecile. Do you not understand? Like, these people are completely out of touch, but they don't care. They've got a nice office somewhere that's paid for by people donating because they're scared of all the hate. Just last week, the government banned right-wing terrorist group Sonnenkrieg Division in the UK, making membership punishable by 10 years in jail. Who's going to join that? You can't, like, most people join the far right. I'm going to fucking Google that. What are you talking about? We keep the list of prescribed organisations under review. Well, at least you're doing something. It's not very good, but you're doing something. There you go. So the far right bogeyman is ever present, even though we are on the cusp of a biological disaster. So, thanks for having your priorities right. Well done. Good for you. If you ever consider donating to Hope Not Hate, please don't. There are so many better organisations doing way better work, and some of those aren't doing very good work at all. So that should explain to you how bad they are.